Hi, everybody. I would like to dive in with some questions. So I am wondering how many of you are already working within cross-functional teams, where there are QA, PO, a couple of more people than developers. Wow, almost all of us. Wow, great. And who are the application engineers, developers? Are there any? Yeah? Okay, are there any infrastructure people? Okay, good, great, super. So, because most of the stories I will tell you is going to be from my perspective, because I'm a site reliability engineer in the teams, but there's going to be a lot of stories with devs and divs, so put yourself in the positions on my story accordingly. Couple of months ago, I was asked by my product manager, what do we want to achieve with this? Because I'm quite enthusiastic and passionate about the mindset, and I point things out at work when things don't go the way we would like to foster the culture in. So I was insisting on including me in SRE to their planning meetings and include me as much as they can. And since they're very outcome-driven people, she really wanted to know what is this that we would like to achieve with this? What am I that I'm always talking about? So when you are so much in the topic, you don't really know why in the first place we were talking a lot about DevOps and what were the reasons that we started this mindset. So I had to zoom out to think a little bit and how I can actually explain to her a little bit what this whole movement about. When I think about DevOps, very first thing that comes to my mind is automation. So I wanted to explain her a couple of details, some stories about automation, how it is different now. So I think, when I think about automation, there are three things that comes to my mind, the reasons of automation. So first reason of automation is we do automation because there are a lot of repetitive tasks. So you do something for 3 times and you're like, you know what, I don't want to spend my time on this anymore, so we automate. The second reason we automate is that there are a lot of cumbersome and long-running jobs that you don't necessarily do it very repeatedly, but this is something that you would gain a lot by automating it. This is another reason. But the third reason I think we automate, especially now, is for enabling people, for giving people platform. So I think this is the most important part of the DevOps, and that's why we started with this. So let me tell you a story about enabling people, so maybe you can shape the idea in your head. So last year, at work, we wanted to get rid of a little tool that we used to use, like a webhook, to trigger stuff from our Bitbucket server to our Jenkins pipeline. It was written in Go, it was a small tool, and now we were using completely Jenkins plugins and webhooks. We wanted to kill this tool. So this was a tool maintained by other team, but we were all able to contribute to the repository to put our repositories to be triggered. So I had to touch this tool to move some stuff out, and eventually some more people are going to take stuff out, and we're going to finally kill this. When I did my part, I realized there wasn't any build pipeline or deploy pipeline, so I wanted to conclude my task. But there was at least a make file, so I thought, wait, I can at least use some make commands to make my part. After the build, I wasn't able to know where to exactly put this artifact and how to put the deployment in place. So I asked, and I got an artifactory. I didn't have rights. I got the rights. I put the artifact in place. Well, I tried to put the artifact in place. I didn't really know the directory structure, so when I was copying and pasting, I thought I really deleted their whole build directory. So at the end, it turned out it didn't really delete it, it was just moved. But this was enough for me to get red and really stressed out. And when I went to the team, I said, hey, we already use in company a lot that we build and we deploy. This is quite an easy automation. Why don't we already do this? And the answer I got was, we're going to get rid of this in 2 months. There's no reason of automation, or there's no reason that we need to put effort into this. Well, I think it was needed the most at this time, because in these 2 months, more and more people had to, take stuff out and touch this tool. And if you don't want to be the bottleneck for you to get rid of this tool, this is exactly the right time for you to put that effort in place and, get rid of this and enable people to do it. Because there is something called deployment pain. that we don't really talk a lot because we think that we automate everything in the right place. So this was a good example for me because I was already stressing out how to get these structures in place and how to put things in place. This was a perfect example of the pain that I had. And this is in the book called Accelerate, which I really, really loved reading. It tells you lean software development and how DevOps actually help software teams to move faster in a smarter way. And it is a very big scientific work that is written there, so I really recommend you to have a look. So if this is unchecked, this can lead to burnout, where people don't even realize. Because we automate things, but we don't really necessarily make this deployment easy, which is such a pity thing, because developers are the craftsmen, right? They put their whole work and days into this little software, but if they cannot see it running in an easier way, it cannot iterate it faster, then this is actually making their life quite hard, and it can lead to pretty severe problems. So enabling and automating good when we do a lot of automation, but can we automate everything though? Like, can we automate everything to enable people? I realize that not really possible, because there are still things that we can't automate, like what is the generic or recommended repository settings, or how to check testings on the production that many people are using. So at work, we have a kind of a platform where we write little articles, how-tos and guides. And the powerful thing about these articles is that when people have some problems, when you give them these articles, they already know what their problem is. And these articles are super lean, super short. It has like 3 or 4 steps for you to show exactly what you need to solve. And when someone needs this, and you can just give them the link, you automate something. You enable someone for exactly one little thing that you couldn't really automate necessarily, but you realize that this was something that other people might need, so you can just come together and write a 3 lines article how to do this, and you can already create a quite collaborative environment. So I came to the conclusion that if you cannot automate it, document it. And this doesn't have to be really long documents in the READMEs where you have a lot of things in it. No. You can just specify a problem and make like 2 paragraphs or 5 steps of a solution, and you will see how helpful that becomes. I work a lot of people, and I support and consult them, and sometimes I get questions like this. How many Docker images can we have? Because automation part is really clear right now, that we automate the build pipelines, deploy pipelines, we automate a lot of stuff. But still, sometimes we stumble upon some questions that are like making you think. So this was because we were putting a new API in place as a new service. It was a new repository, and everything had to be done, from the beginning. And we were talking with developers how we should do our build process and how we should build the images and how often should we do that. While there can be a lot of different practices in this topic, I recommended that we build our image every time we push something. Doesn't matter what branch, doesn't matter what time exactly, whenever there is something in the repo that should trigger our builds. And the engineers said that, yeah, but like this is gonna create a lot of Docker images that maybe we are not gonna even use. This is gonna create a lot of build pipelines that is not necessarily need to run. So isn't this a lot of disk space? Isn't this a lot of like waste of resources used? So I gave a thought about this a little, and I think we give computers what they are good at, executing. Without, they don't need to decide things. They can take given orders. They are really fast than us, and they can execute and they can do things. They don't need to think much. Meanwhile, we can focus on decision making. We can focus on troubleshooting. So that's why I don't So automating is one thing, and optimizing is another. That's why I don't want to think for developers to say, hey, my branch is, I think, ready, so let me push a button to build so that I can deploy. I don't want to give them one more, time to make a decision for such a trivial job. So we can automate things the way we decide. We can later optimize it. And in my example, this can be, deleting Docker images after 30 days. Or, in the build pipelines, having the caching that all the builds doesn't take so much. So we can do a lot of optimization after, but this doesn't mean that we need to do things with human intervention for such a trivial jobs. So automating and optimizing and applying, and these are really easy and understandable examples to apply in your normal daily life. And what is still left is actually, after building and developing this, is actually running this thing. So the half of the job is not done yet when you handle your build pipelines and all your optimization of the builds and everything you do until the software is delivered. But I have another example about running it. So my boyfriend and I happen to be software engineers, so sometimes we do hobby projects at home just to play with things. And we created this Facebook page. You can go and all like, because it just creates really cute animal pictures, and it posts like 3 times a day. So you can imagine I already said 3 times a day, so there's a bot running and posting these pictures. So we basically created a script that takes animal pictures from subreddits, couple of subreddits, puts them into database, and takes them and pushes them to Facebook page 3 times a day. We just wanted to see how MongoDB works and just put a couple of scripts in there to see how much we can actually grow a Facebook page by just bots posting things. So we put this in place and we forgot about it really because it was still posting, and we actually reached to more than 3K now likes. But after some time, we got this message. I hope your Christmas was full of happiness and your New Year's will bring more celebration of life to you and your wife. They have no idea about us, but I love following your post, and I haven't seen anything of late. I really hope things are all right with your family. So this was a Christmas time. It was like December. We were like, oh, this is great. People engage with us. Like, they miss us when we are not there. And when we checked, we weren't posting anything for the last 20 days. But what happened here was actually we were alerted by a physical person that our script was not working anymore. So this was an alert that was actually missing because it was just a hobby project that we didn't put in place. And we had alerts like, it was even going to Slack channel that we had alerts of our DigitalOcean VM, if it has some resource problems or if it has any problems that they should, tell us. But we didn't really think any application-specific alerts. What do you think this can be a problem that our script was not working anymore? Think very, very basically. Like, we did nothing. We just wrote a couple of ugly Python scripts. So, what do you think it can be the problem that our script stopped running? What is it? No, we had resources alerts. No, it was actually a token expired. Like, when you're working with APIs, like Reddit API, Facebook API, the most common thing that can happen to you is actually token being expired. Luckily, we had logs, so we were able to see what was happening there, and we did fix that. But what I would like to actually point out here is that how many times there is someone coming to your team space and say, something is burning? Are you going to do something about it, or I just wanted to let you know, right? This can be because you are not in this, the Slack channel that all the alerts are going is already muted for you, because there are so many alerts that were not put in place thoughtfully, or you're not in the group of people who receives these alerts, or you didn't even put alerts on your own because platform team just created a bunch of really generic alerts for every application running there. And yeah, you don't really know it. So yes, we do wanna move fast, but we also would like to move smart, right? We would like to make use of these all the technologies that is happening, and we, as a group or team, we need to make sure that whatever we are putting up there, we are the ones who knows how to measure them. We know what goes wrong, and we are responsible of putting this alert in place. And platform people, yeah, they should give me the platform that is easy for me to put alerts in place. But I, as an application engineer, or you, are responsible of the software that is running there, and you know the edges. And when we know them, then it's easier to troubleshoot. It's easier to put things in place. I'm talking all this about me and you and I, but I'm not sure if this is all done by me or a team, or who am I really talking about when I'm talking about these examples. I'm talking about a bunch of engineers. And for me, they're all problem solvers. Doesn't matter which part of the software they're really working, but they're all capable problem solver people. So what do I mean by that is that you already mentioned most of you are working in cross-functional teams. And that means that you are working together with application engineers, infrastructure people, or a bunch of other people too that does differently contribute to this product. But you might still have hidden walls or silos in your team as well. And this can look like, if I'm an infra person and I see an application engineer as someone who can only write Java code, I don't think that he would understand monitoring. I don't think that he would understand how Kubernetes behave. I wouldn't think that he should even know what I'm doing, if I'm thinking this way. Or the other way around, the application developer can see me, as a dependency, as someone who does some job so he can put his software in place. Or it has a magic terminal, he does a lot of commands and talks about Kubernetes or any kind of hype technology. So this means this is a silo, and we should be careful with that, because we are in that specific team because we create a product all together. Because we all have just different set of skills that goes into one software that creates a business value, that creates a money eventually, and that's why we are there. So it is important to know that we are in that team, and we do have different set of skills, and we contribute to the same project in the very same way. So for me, it's important that I know their job and they know my job too, so that we become a team. I was sick for a week last year, and I was checking my Slack from time to time. And one of the alerts, I saw that it didn't have a region information in the alerts. So because Trivago has 3 different data centers, and they're all identical, we run the software very identically, but it's important to know where exactly the alert is coming from so that you can start your troubleshooting. And this bothered me quite a lot, and I knew that this was a super small change in Prometheus configuration. I quickly put it in place and opened a PR, and I just dropped a message to the team that I'm really not working, but it really bothered me, so you know what this is about. And the answer that I got was, oh yeah, it bothered us quite a lot as well, and I'm really happy you did this. We can roll this out. So, and they did roll out my changes, and I was sick, and they didn't think this was a monitoring stack. They didn't think this is a Prometheus, I have nothing to do with this. They didn't think, yeah, this is an alert that, yeah, I created, but it's just configuration change. Yeah, Büşra should do it when she's back. They cared the alerts, missing region, as much as I did. And for me, this is a great example of, yeah, things are working. We are a really good cross-functional team, and we care about the product, not exactly which task is taken by whom. But this all comes with transparency. So it's really hard to create a trusting team environment when you hide your failures, when you don't know really what the other one is doing, or when you don't see the big picture that you are here for one reason, and that is the product you are all creating together. So for that, for example, we have, for the infrastructure side of the story, we have an infrastructure channel where we only broadcast messages. So, for example, the first one you see is that we will begin upgrading Kubernetes Edge. Few minutes, progress will be in the thread. So this is important because if you were an ops person who is just living on your corner, you would think, this is just an edge. Like we have edge, stage, if we have like 2 more stages, still the production. So no one is going to notice this. Or, it's not going to be such an impact, so I don't need to really tell this to people. But showing this actually gives developers the reason why their metrics are having some gaps, or why there was some alerts triggered meanwhile, or why their pod was killed. So they can come back to this channel and actually relate the problems and just see. And for you, this doesn't hurt. And if something goes wrong, they should know it as well. There's no reason to fix this on your own, hiddenly. As well as the other example where there are configuration change for Kibana, and they say expect delay data visible in Kibana. When you think about this is super small. Like, why do you need the field to need to write this down? Yeah, because sometimes you don't think there is going to be any impact, but some other people can help you figure it out. So you can just write that down and you can say what you expect, but sometimes people can have some problem and say, hey, I'm having this issue, can they be related? Then you might actually realize some couple of more problems that you didn't even think that can create an impact. And same goes with our postmortems too. So when an incident happens, we really create detailed postmortems and we care about sharing them in the next 2 days. They don't have to be complete, they have to be created just so that there are engineers working on this. And this is created also very collaboratively, because even though I'm an SRE, it doesn't mean that I sit down, solve the incident, and write the postmortem. I most of the time need some application engineers to give me some specific things or reasons why in the first place this thing happened. So whoever in the on-call rotation just creates the postmortem, but the others all join if they knew something that could be a reason of this. And more importantly, we even do calculation for revenue lost. So we have a BI team, business analysis people who deals with data, and this is just an estimation, but they can still see, let's say we were down for 1 hour, and they can see how much revenue we would have usually done around this time. And you might have think, oh my God, I let my website down for 1 hour, and I caused like thousands of euros, and I'm gonna just show this to people? Yeah, because that makes your job very visible to everyone. That shows people that you care about being this blameless, and you care about that this is a product that everyone cares same, like uniquely. That this is one goal that we all work together, and it's important that we learn from this incident. It's important that every one of you know how much actually little mistakes cost, and how much we can learn from this so that we don't do the same mistakes again. And I can tell you in the beginning it was hard. Like, it was hard to show this very openly, and you are quite like fearful of blames and everything. But as long as you keep doing and you keep your postmortems blameless, there is no names on it, and you own it, then the whole culture is slowly changing. It becomes such a collaborative environment where people actually ask for specific postmortems sometimes. I want to know what happened there. Didn't we have the same problem earlier? Did we, follow up the action points? And this gives me joy every time I really see this. But you might say that we don't have a DevOps team. So whatever you're talking about, I feel like there's a magic people in there and they do things and there's a lot of collaboration. But we don't have a DevOps team either. So I have been working at Trivago more than 2 years, and my first 1 year I was hired in a team that was called Software Operations. I just believe that this was created because we had data center people who does real core system admin work, and there was still people needed to put platform in place for making their developer jobs easier and work life easier. So for me, this was already a good place to start with, because this was the perfect place to foster this mindset. But so in my first 1 year, I did a lot of little automations. We were giving platform for developers to play around and everything. But my last 1.5 year is more about consulting. It's more about being with the team and helping their stuff. we do still provide the platform, but it became more with the team and actually consulting them and making them learn how to run this software all together. So what I'm trying to say is that there is no one way to contribute to this mindset. Because at the end of the day, we would like to crash this wall. And it doesn't matter how this happens. We do this in many, many ways. We do this with automation. We do this infra as code. We do this with collaboration. We do this with team structures. We do this in many, many different ways. And if you think that with one decision to another, you are contributing to make your software delivery, your software process a bit closer with the other people, that you create the product together, then you're already on a good track. So at the end of my 3 years, I was able to collect things that you can take it away. So automation is definitely one of this. So that we also do automation now definitely for enabling people, not just doing the repetitive task or long-running tasks make it better, but we also do this because we want everyone to be able to do the things that we do repetitively. That is really important. And we want to have a rapid feedback loop. We would like to use the computers what they are good at. We don't want to put a lot of decision making in place just because a lot of resources are used. So optimizing is one thing, automating is one, and optimizing another. And we do a lot of collaboration. Half of the job is collaboration and understanding. And this definitely comes with transparency. There is no any other way around to make the collaboration better. So at the end of all this thing and stories, I didn't tell everything to the product manager who asked me how we achieved this. But I did tell her a couple of automation stories and how my job is important to be in there with everyone. And this is going to sound cheesy, but she was like, this makes so much sense. Because she was able to relate this with the lean, with agile, with everything she's in the team, why she wants to do this. And yet, she was super away from it. Because when we talk about DevOps, we talk about tools everywhere. We talk about automation tools, Kubernetes, orchestration tools, every other tools you think of, which makes our job easier to give a platform. But we forgot about why in the first place we came together and we started to using these tools. And that is why she understood and she really liked it. And she actually started backing me in these conversations. She started including me more. And she even went further and read about, what is a product owner role in DevOps world? How does her role changes in such a fast-moving software development right now? This is all I have. I hope you got some takeaways, and thank you very much for listening to me.